Welcome, dear friends. We are just honored and delighted that you're with us today. We have an incredible program for you. Our presenters will take us on a journey. Dr. Jude Curvin provides the foundation for all of our work as she shares the science and evidence-based truth that we are all connected. And when we embrace and embody that truth, it changes everything. Our Pathways to Peace student rep, John William, will share the role that intersectionality plays in bringing us together in unity. He calls us into collective action. And Averin shares his work to unleash the power that exists when we overcome our biases and come together in love as one. And very exciting, in between each of those presentations, we have a 5-member youth response panel composed of middle and high school youth who will expand on those concepts. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. We are very blessed to have Gary Malcolm's opening music, which is The Science of Love. And we are, again, blessed by having our amazing tech team of Emma DeVias, raise your hand, Emma, and Becky Suzik to take care of our technical support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we hope you all will use the chat to post your thoughts and reflections throughout our time together. But before we begin, we will open, as we always do, with a minute of silence and a moment of peace, our peace wave. So let's just take a moment to come into our hearts, to feel the connections that exist here and beyond. And the power of silence. Oh, thank you. And now, with open hearts and open minds, I'll turn the floor over to my beloved Mr. George Anthony to talk about youth and the importance of youth voices. George?
Thank you, Tez, and welcome speakers and guests. It's an extraordinary day, a very necessary day, especially in the world that we wake up to each morning. The news is difficult, when we deal with what's going on in Sudan, the Holy Land, Ukraine, and parts of all over the world. It's a difficult time, and people always ask me, how do you stay positive? How do you stay focused? And I say, we have work to do. We always have work to do. And peace building is what we call a work in progress. And it's a lot of it's in our hands, but it's also in the hands of the youth. They need to be a part of the solutions. And their focus, their passion, their activity is what we need. We need them at the table. As peace builders, we know at Pathways to Peace, it's our role to provide this platform. And today is a powerful platform. We have Dr. Jude Curvin and Averin Heroic, who have been at the table, can share with us today powerful insights on that journey towards peace. And John Ziwa, who's going to sort of introduce his ideas of passion and truth, as well as student moderators. And student moderators, you play a very big role today because you will basically be the force that moves us forward, of promise, of hope. And we're all there together on this ride. So it's real important that we're all together. Pathways to Peace will continue to be there to support you, to provide the platforms. And as always, we're excited to all be partners in peace, moving this concept of hope and promise further, in the future, as we deal with the tragedies that confront us each and every morning. So bless you all, and I look forward to this meeting today, this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And we also have our very amazing Tawid Rahman with us today, who also is a youth, not a supporter, but he empowers youth through his work. So, Tawid, I wonder if you'd say just a few words about your work.
Hi, my name is Tawheed Rahman. I am a teacher at the Newark School of Global Studies. I've been teaching for this is my seventh year of teaching, and I'm currently here with my students. My students are David Akinlabi and Nelji Reyes. We've done a lot of work these past two couple years, developing public speaking skills, research skills, and overall, I think, as we continue on with our work with Pathways to Peace, everyone will be pleasantly pleased to see how much our students have grown and it's just a testament to how much organizations like Pathways to Peace can do to uplift and advance the progress of our students. Thank you for giving me the time and
Thank you, Tweed. You are amazing. And so I think we just need to lift up and show you the faces of our youth response panel members. They are Amara, David, Shivey, Joanna, and Nelji. Is that all five of you? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who have I forgotten? I think that's all of you, right? And so we're so happy you're here. And thank you for being here. And it's maybe important to mention that Shivey and Joanna are in India. Amara is here in the US in Colorado. And Nelji and David are in New Jersey. So we have kind of a broad perspectives that on geography as well as wisdom. They're all very wise. And so happy that you decided to jump into this playpen with us today and share your ideas as they come to you. And so now let's move on to our presenters. So first, we have the amazing Dr. Jude Curvin. And we're going to put the bios in the chat because we could never do them justice. So Jude, the title of Jude's presentation is How Unitive Science is Revealing Our Independent Belonging with Each Other and the Whole World. Jude, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Tez. It's wonderful to be with you and everyone today. I'd like to take a step back because from ancient times, we as human beings have told stories and narratives to help us understand and explain how we see ourselves and our place in the world, how we reconcile our inner and outer experiences, and how we give them meaning and purpose. And as time has gone on, as our understanding of the nature of reality has changed, so have our worldviews and so have our narratives. But by the end of the 19th century, it seems a long time ago, just over a century ago, science by then had become the prevalent framer of our worldview. And the science of that time, the discoveries of the science of that time, actually, their technologies drove the Industrial Revolution. So the science of the late 19th century was far more than just science. It underpinned the way we governed our justice systems, our education systems, crucially our economic systems, because it drove all the industrial activity that has gone on to this day. The point is that that science was of a universe that was very different from that perceived by ancient peoples, which had seen meaning and purpose in our existence and related our inner and outer experiences to that perspective. The science of the 19th century was one of a materialistic universe, a universe of separate objects without meaning and without purpose, and where consciousness somehow emerged after a long time as solely the attribute of human beings. And it's that science that framed our societies to this day, our economics to this day, our education to this day. And yet, in that century since, science has moved on, the technologies have moved on, but the worldview has stayed stuck in a world of mechanism and materiality and separation, with everything that has brought us to our discussion today of the need to find some deeper perspective and understanding that can help us reconnect ourselves with deeper truths of our existence. And what we're finding now, we talk about the evidence, what we're finding now, what we're discovering now, and especially in the last few years, is that old worldview, that old paradigm of mechanism and separation is being found to be deeply flawed. And in fact, the evidence at all scales of existence and across many different fields of research are turning it on its head. And instead of that perspective of reality, what we're finding instead is a universe that, as the ancients and indigenous traditions have always maintained, has meaning and purpose. Our universe meaningfully exists to purposely evolve. We now know from its initial simplicity to ever greater levels of complexity and self-awareness, to us, to our planetary home and beyond. So what we're finding is the evidence that supports this, as I mentioned, is incredibly wide-ranging. And I co-founded something called Whole World View back in 2017 to share the evidence and to serve this emergent unitive understanding, but more than that, to invite us into experience this newly revealed world of wholeness, where its unity is expressed in radical diversity, and even beyond diversity, innate inclusion and belonging. We're not just diverse aspects of our universe. We're not just, although we are, microcosmic co-creators of its essentially living, and I would say loving, nature. But we also belong. We have our place. We can regain our place through this evidence-based, unitive understanding of the whole world. And I'll give you some examples of the key pieces of evidence, but there are thousands of them. The first one is at the scale of the whole universe. Since the beginning of quantum physics, at the beginning of the 20th century, scientists have known, although not many have admitted it, they've known that for quantum physics to work at all, with its appearance and understanding that nothing is separate from anything else, that doesn't occur just at the quantum scale. For that to be the case, our whole universe has to be inseparable. Its wholeness expressed through radical differentiation, but not separation, and indeed through radical interdependent relationships. And the reason that I can share this now with such conviction is that not only have we had experimental evidence at larger and larger scales that this is the case, but in 2022, the Nobel Prize was given for physics, was awarded for 3 researchers who over decades have been studying what's called non-locality, entanglement at universal scales. And this is so compelling now that the Nobel Prize was given because it settles science, Nobody is saying, oh, that's contentious or that might not be the case. Science is saying, yes, our universe is unified. There is nothing in it that is not part of the wholeness of it. And that is vital because that totally turns that paradigm of separation on its head. We'll also find the patterns that are characteristic of this unity at every scale, from the scale of atoms to molecules to planetary scales, solar system scales, galactic scales, to in fact the whole of space and time. And at that scale, when we look out to the whole of space, we can map tiny temperature differences. And when they're analysed, we see that they embody the same patterns, the same relational patterns that we find at every scale, then on downwards. We also find that these patterns, sometimes called fractals, sometimes they're shown in what we call power laws of relationships, but they are meaningfully related. They scale up and they scale down. And we find these underpinning and framing all systems, regardless of whether we might say they're natural or human-made. In other words, when we look beneath the appearance, the surface of an ecosystem, the Amazon basin, for example, we find the same relational patterns that play out in the internet. When we look at the frequency and destructive power of earthquakes and we map them, and we find there is a relationship between them, that the destructive power of an earthquake is related to its frequency. We can analyze all earthquakes in a single relationship of frequency versus destructive power. Yet, when we do the same for human conflicts, in terms of the fatalities of a conflict and its scale and its frequency, we find the same relationships. In other words, we cannot separate ourselves from nature. We're not apart from it. We are a part of it. And that is vital to how we approach sustainability, regeneration, relationships at every level. Why does this matter? And why now? And what I would say is it matters because we can no longer go on behaving as we have been based on a worldview of materiality and separation. Not now, when we understand and have the evidence for the deeper, more fundamental truths that the appearance of our universe arises from deeper levels of causation, intelligence, sentience. Our universe truly is a living and I would say loving entity. And also this point around consciousness. The evidence is now showing us that we don't have mind and consciousness. It's not something we have. It's what we and literally the whole world are. And finally, we're realizing that what we're seeing at the leading edge of science now, all the evidence coming together, is actually founded on the profound wisdom of our ancient ancestors, on universal wisdom teachings and indigenous teachings. Teachings that have always maintained we're part of the web of life, always maintained that we are interdependent, always maintained that all of existence are our relatives. And so the ways of living in the world based on that are ways of reciprocity, ways of compassion and empathy and kindness, ways of community, ways of coherence, ways of co-creating from that understanding for healthy, flourishing communities, revering, loving our planetary mother for all that she provides us with and which we could not live without. And when we go back, sure, science has reached out far farther into the universe and tinier and tinier than our ancestors could perhaps ever have imagined. But nonetheless, it's now bringing us home to that deep wisdom because it's now helping us regain the understanding that we are interdependent and that we do belong. And one of the ways perhaps we can consider this is we've been taught, I've certainly been taught at school, that our universe began nearly 14 billion years ago as a Big Bang. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree with the science that our universe did indeed. The best understanding we have is our universe of energy, matter, and space time, informed, conscious, living, did begin all that time ago. But it did not begin in a Big Bang. We know it wasn't big. And again, I agree with the science, of course. But I would say when we describe something as a bang, we implied it began chaotically. It didn't. It began in a tiny, tiny first moment, but exquisitely fine-tuned, amazingly ordered, to enable it to meaningfully exist and to purposefully evolve from that initial first moment of simplicity to ever greater complexity that has led to stars and planetary systems and plants and people. So I describe that first moment as a big breath, but not just that moment, but the 14 billion year journey ever since. So space has expanded as time has flowed forward on this extraordinary journey of our universe. The big breath continues to breathe its experience, its exploration, and its evolutionary potential. And that big breath breathes through us in every moment. Every breath we take, we're breathing in that big breath of our living and loving universe. So I would invite us as we do so with gratitude and joy and love ourselves, that we sense that we can continue through our little breaths to serve its ongoing evolutionary potential. And so what this does, what this evidence-based unitive science offers us, I feel, is it can inspire us and empower us to remember who we really are, because that mechanistic view of the world has dismembered ourselves. It's pushed aside our love, our sense of feeling, a community, our meaning, our purpose. We're regaining that. And in regaining that, we're remembering who we really are and its evolutionary potential that is unfolding in every moment, offers us, invites us, it seems to me, to say yes to the invitation to become co-evolutionary partners going forward. It can reframe our current, what's sometimes called a meta-crisis, into what we call a metamorphosis, when a caterpillar, a species that eats and eats and eats and eats through an early part of its life cycle, when it can eat no more, it goes into a chrysalis. And the old body of the caterpillar breaks down. As it breaks down, what's called the imaginal cells of an emergent butterfly start to form. And those imaginal cells find each other, and together they form the wings and the new legs and the new body, and crucially, the new eyes of the butterfly. A butterfly sees the world through completely different, literally different eyes than that of a caterpillar. And so perhaps as a species, perhaps as humanity now, this evidence-based unity of science converging with universal and indigenous wisdom teachings can help us to see the world with new eyes. And in doing that, to live the world and to love the world in a newly hearted way. And finally, all of this, it seems to me, can help us transform ourselves from the inside out. You know, they say transformation is an inside job. We cannot transform the outside unless we transform our inner consciousness, our inner awareness. And I would suggest that the evidence of this unity of science gives us that we can stand on its ground. We can stand on a ground that shows us that unity is our existential reality. And it shows us that we are part of, we belong to and with each other and to a living and loving universe.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jude. Yes, we are inspired to remember who we are. And remember, we are in co-creation. We belong to each other and all that is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to the people in who are participating, please be listening for how these three different approaches contribute to advancing sustainable, inclusive, and science-based solutions. And put your reflections and questions in the chat. So it's time now to bring up our youth response panel. So, and I should mention that Jude cannot be with us for the full hour and a half. She'll be here as long as she can, and we honor her and her ability to be here as long as she can. So let's bring up our youth response panel. Nope, not Averin. So we need to bring up Amara, David, and Nelji, Shivy, and Joanna. There we are. Nope, we need Nelji.
Amara.
And Averin is a speaker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you are. Yay. So who would like to say something? You can raise your hand. Okay, Amara, and unmute yourself, please. And after her, Shivy, and then Joanna. And hopefully, if others have something they'd like to say in the time we have, we'll capture that as well. Amara, unmute yourself.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Jude. That was beautiful. I love this idea of unitive consciousness. For the longest time, I've been a secular humanist. So I've spent so much of my life surrounded by people who have been religious and wondering about, the meaning of life, this idea of meaning of life. And I've been searching for something that has some sort of meaning in a world where I don't see religion for me. And through that time, I have found a lot of this idea of unitive consciousness. And I found it it's just the way that I interact with people and interact with the world. And every day you wake up and you look outside and you hear the birds singing and you hear the sun, or you see the sun rising, and you think, wow, this is I don't think it could get any better than this, right? And I don't think that I could think that I have any like superiority over the world and over nature if I can look out and just see the beauty of it. And I think that we've lost so much beauty in the world so far by just choosing not to see things as beautiful. And I think that if we wake up and we decide that everything works together consciously and that meaning is whatever we decide to make of it, I think that we can bring back a lot of beauty and a lot of love and a lot of equality. And I think that is what could drive peace in the world, is if we just wake up and decide that we are equal with nature and with each other, and regardless of whatever boundaries are created by our borders, which, are just subjective. So I think it's a really beautiful thing to stop and think about what unitive consciousness could look like as we create peace in the world and see each other as beings who are here coexisting and choosing to wake up, do our best, and love each other every day.
Thank you, Amara. Shivy.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Jude. It was really great and inspiring. So, what we all think of science is just as an innovation or something we have to learn every day. But what Jude brought out today was like a really great perspective. We don't have to learn science is just like a innovation or to come up with something new. We just have to understand that we all are like collectively responsible to each other and view it as a whole unit rather than just the nature or human beings or insects or whatever. It could be way more stuff. So that was a really great point of view. And I think I'm starting to relate on the examples she gives, like the example, the quantum physics. That was really great too. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Shivy. Joanna, thoughts that you have?
I would like to start off once again by saying, Dr. Jude, that was absolutely incredible. I'm personally very interested in science, and seeing how that was applied on the concept of a unitive narrative was so, so interesting to me. And every time you speak at any of these meetings, I'm just more and more engaged with that idea, and I'll never get tired of it. One more a similar ideology I'd like to point out is how interesting it is that this sort of idea of unity is written into our body's code, into our DNA, how similar we are to each other, how different we are to each other, and how those differences make us better together. And I'd like to keep this brief, but there is another concept of panspermia, and I don't know where I read it, whether it was in the unitive narrative or whether it was when I was reading about terraformation on different planets. But there's this concept of all life stemming from a singular source, and we could apply that here to the unitive narrative. If life is all stemming from one source, then why should we be conflicting against each other? And that's what I'd like to bring about today.
Thank you, Joanna. And David?
Thank you so much, Dr. Kervin, for your powerful speech. And one thing that like stood out to me was like the science. Like the science is not proven like what, many ancient and indigenous culture have always believed, like that we're all connected. The universe is like it has many meaning and purpose. And as a student, I've been like taught to see like the world through like a scientific or more mechanical lens where everything that like is like separate, but your speech like reminded me that we're part of something like much bigger and we all belong. Like we're all humans. We're all one, not like separate. So I like to map the image of the universe with like the big breath instead of starting from like a big bang, like you mentioned. It gave me a new way to think about life as something like full of purpose and not just random events. So this matters for like young people like us because we're growing up in like a world with like a lot of challenges like climate change, inequality, and division. So it's easy to feel disconnected and like overwhelmed. But hearing your speech like brings like hope that we'll have like a better planet. So thank you.
Thank you, David. And LG?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Kervin, I really want to like say that what you explained would really help the world to be a better place because most of our humans are divided between different religions, different point of views, perspectives, and I feel like if we had a bigger like stanza and like overall teaching on what we are, on what everything is, people could be more united and more like thankful for the things we are and we have. I feel like if more perspectives like the one you showed us that it isn't all about a Big Bang, science, and the same origin as status quo, we could be more united and more peaceful around the world and overall have a better world without much of the bad that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, LG. All of this is beautiful. Thank you to our youth response panelists. You are so wise. And next, we're going to move on to our speaker, John William. And John William is going to speak to us about another approach, which is how intersectionality relates to inclusivity and our um, our quest to be one. So, John William, the floor is yours. And
Thank you.
John William, I will say, is quite accomplished. And so his bio will be in the chat. Go ahead, John William.
I would like to begin with the acknowledgement of the Lenape people, the original stewards of the land I'm speaking from today. Their culture was disrupted by colonization, but we will still make sure it's honored. But honoring means more than just acknowledgement. It means also dismantling the very systems that try to erase them. These systems still exist, embedded in the land I walk on every day. It would be wrong to speak about sustainable development growth without mentioning the injustices that hinder it, like the one that happened on the ground I stand upon. We live in a reality where oppression rarely occurs alone. We often try to separate each issue, but What if we stopped fighting in separation? This is intersectionality, coined by Kimberly Williams Crenshaw. It's the idea that fighting for a cause must incorporate surrounding issues as they all affect each other. For example, we often hear how women earn 82 cents for every dollar a man makes, but that only includes white women. Black women earn 66 cents, Indigenous women earn around 60. When we clump all women together, we erase the challenges of women of color. Intersectionality calls for movements that reflect complexity, not dismiss. Take racism, for example. We often see it as slur calling or hate crimes, but it can also be subtle. We call these microaggressions. It's a form of discriminatory aggression that is not directly meant and or noticed. For example, a friend once compared my hair to a rat's nest. It may seem like a harmless joke, but it connects to centuries of dehumanization and mockery of our coils. These comments, when added to other prejudices, strengthen the oppression. So what systems do we have to prevent this? That's where DEI comes in. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's about giving everyone what they need to succeed. Equity doesn't mean equal treatment, but fair treatment. Picture 3 people of different heights trying to see over a fence. If they all got the same stool, only the tallest sees. But if they get stools that match their height's need, they all see equally. That's what equity looks like. Without DEI, marginalized groups lose support. Some teachers were pressured to take down signs that say everyone is welcome here. Low-income schools, which often serve marginalized communities of color, are now under-resourced. Without DEI, we risk excluding those in need of help the most. And if we can't take care of people, how can we protect the planet? Environmental harm and human harm are connected and require a diverse advocacy. Some geographical areas have worsened climate change because of Western overuse of resources, even though they use the least amount of energy. For example, cobalt mining in Congo, used in our electronics, has caused pollution, displacement, and child labor. Children as young as 4 years old work the mine so we can use our cell phones. Yet only 30% of Congolese people even have internet access. This directly debunks the myth that immigrants come here for our so-called jobs and education, but because our countries ruin theirs. It's like a doctor hitting someone with a car and then refusing to treat them in the hospital because they're taking beds from others. How is that fair? We as a country need to take accountability, as it's the only way to improve our environment. We must begin by repairing countries we've hurt or risk worsening our situation. But women too face compounded harm. And it's important that we protect all women and not just those the world finds easiest to understand. This includes trans women. Transphobia has no place in feminism. Suicide rates for trans teenagers are rising, and ignoring that is not only harmful, but deadly. Feminism must grow to truly be inclusive. Women also continue to face healthcare discrimination. Men are more likely to be given medication for the same symptom. One woman suffered from months of headaches and was denied a brain scan. She was later diagnosed with a brain tumor. These aren't accidental. They stem from bias embedded in the medical system. These disparities in healthcare don't just end at gender. COVID may have disappeared from news headlines, but it doesn't mean it's gone. And it's time for the medical system to recognize this. Long COVID left millions of people disabled, but it's still not listed in the Social Security disability listing, leaving disabled people out of one of the few systems in place to foster their upbringing. And since COVID research has been deprioritized, hopes of a cure are slim. It's easy for the medical system to just decide to move on, but those sick with long COVID don't have that choice. They don't get to move on. Disabled people are forced to continue working through the illness with no support for their unrecognized disability. But does capitalism slow down when they need it? No. Instead, it expects everyone to survive under the same conditions. They still must support their families, pay for housings, do their taxes, while also having to pay for their medical bills. And this has been worsened with the removal of DI. And with increased expenses and limited work hours, those with disabilities usually must sacrifice their savings and retirement funds, causing them to continue working, often for life. But what happens when age steps in? When you go older, now you're not just sick, but seen as too old and outdated. When companies start favoring younger applicants, even when you may need the job more. What then? Capitalism doesn't account for any of this and instead expects you to keep going, keep surviving, though both your body and society are working against you. Because when you live in a world that puts profit over people, Rest becomes a privilege and not a right. But the youth, too, has been hurt by society. We are expected to be the leaders of the future. But how can we when the Department of Education has been defunded? This defunding didn't just silence the youth, but it took away many's access to systems that help them break out of these inequalities. With less financial support in the Department of Education, our educational resources and critical thinking abilities are haltered. Scholarships are now harder to find, and when they are available, they are given based on assumptions rather than facts. They assume that if you make an income that you have that money and are capable of paying for tuition, but that's just simply not true. Parents may be using most of their income on medical bills, supporting extended family, or disabilities that require a lot of support. When you go by what's written on paper and don't account for these invisible burdens, you leave many behind. If we cared about all these groups we have just discussed, we would care for Palestine. Palestine is a living example of all systems of oppression intersecting together. Palestinians are dehumanized, seen as aggressive before they are seen as humans, when in reality, they're not aggressive but angry. Angry that their land is occupied, stolen, and erased, begging to live while watching the world's highest powers defend Israel, even though its whole creation was done through the displacement of 750,000 Palestinians in 1948. And the harm being done never stopped. It only escalated. Gaza's water is now 97% undrinkable due to all the attacks. Agricultural land is ruined. Palestinian women are raped. Those disabled or elderly are left with very little medical support. And entire bloodlines are being wiped. Those who remain frightened and alone are then forced into poverty where they remain controllable. And while Israel is waving around pride flags using their LGBTQ support to mask their violence, they're killing thousands of queer people every day. What does it matter if you support the community if there are no members left alive to see it? All this damage and suffering caused by the Israeli government has been believed to be a genocide by the International Court of Justice. Yet the US continues to veto any efforts to block the violence. Efforts that even the members of the Jewish Voice for Peace organization have been advocating for, using the statement, "not in our name." The Nakba isn't just about borders, but about the overlapping of inequalities working together to erase the Palestinian culture and land as a whole. So what can we do to stop this? Start with accountability. We're not bad people for using our phones, but we must be aware of the impact and push for change while being able to make sacrifices. We should also educate ourselves and others, hear from those directly affected. Always verify sources and understand that even credited ones carry biases. Let us also try to see and understand things from the other point of view, removing this us versus them mindset, as peace is about bridge building. No one wakes up aspiring to be evil. We should understand the reason behind different people's beliefs while helping them see your point of view too. Most importantly, we must use our voices even if it only reaches a few, because those people might reach others. The Sustainable Development Goals were created to build a better world, but we won't achieve that by ignoring oppressions. We must first address the unaddressed, take accountability, and bridge communities in order to grow and achieve a new world that includes all voices. As peacemakers, we must let peace start with truth and let that peace start with us. Let us use our voices in unity, sharing what we believe and leaving no unchecked. We shall speak for those who can't and let our impact be blinding. Thank you.
Thank you, John William. You are brilliant, and what you have to say goes right to the heart. Thank you for that call to action, to use our collective voice for peace where it really matters. Thank you, thank you. Yes, and those of you participating, we'd really love to see your reflections in the chat. So please share. And now we move once again to our youth response panel. They're coming up. Don't you love this format? I mean, I hope everyone here is enjoying themselves as we take in this really important information. So there we are. Who has something they'd like to say? Raise your hands. They're thinking. Amara? Go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. That was beautiful. I think that it's so hard in modern day because a lot of times, if we try to bring up all these different oppressions that people face, we're called like woke liberals, or people have a lot of opinions on us trying to care about other people, and it's really difficult to sit there and to not like want to yell because instead of the sorry, my dog is drinking water. uh, Instead of the discussion being how can we help these oppressed people, it's always should we care? And I don't think that's the discussion that we should be having, right? Like people get into office and get into leadership because they are supposed to care about others and they're supposed to protect others. And it feels like the discussion has definitely shied away from that. So thank you for pointing that out. And I'm really glad that you're here to speak about that because it's really unfortunate to see the people that we have fought so hard to get into office and to care about us to start caring only about themselves. And I think we should definitely examine more how people in power stop caring about the people that they promise to care about.
Thank you, Amara. David.
Um, Thank you so much for that speech. Like everything you said truly connects. Like it connects to so many issues. Like the racism, sexism, like ableism, and like environmental harm. Like and like the crisis, especially the crisis in Palestine. This showed how like they all work together. It reminded me like how easy it is to like look at one problem but not see how it's connected to other issues. So what stood out to me was the message about accountability. You brought up a lot of things about accountability. So a lot of times we hear about problems, but we don't talk about them enough. And like about the system that we don't talk about the system that caused them or what we can do to fix them. So your words reminded us that real change starts with honesty. Being honesty about history, about privilege, and about how our actions affect others or even across the world, like in Palestine. So as young people, we're often told told about the future, but we're in the present. Like, let's focus on the present and take accountability to make our future a better place. So, thank you for that speech.
Beautiful. Thank you, David. Shivy.
Yes, that was again a really great speech. I think intersectionality talks about the overlapping that's happening between societies, between the different identities, and you brought that out really well. And I think right now as youth, we should like start making sure that we don't have those overlaps again and start addressing them. And that was really good when you brought out again how the women are not given the good healthcare. And yeah, it could be in any matters, but again, we should start addressing. And I think as youth, we should reimagine and rebuild of what the previous has not done. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you, Shivy. And Joanna.
Yes, I'd once again like to start off by saying, John, that was an incredible speech. Tez, I believe you picked the speakers. You did a great job. Both of them so far have been really engaging, and I'm expecting a lot from Evelyn as well. John, I think I've heard you speak for UNCSW, and you did great there as well. And I really like how you approach the ideas of poverty and bring in a lot of different minorities and talk about them, because even though they are discriminated against for different reasons, they all share similar problems in society, and they share their problems because of similar reasons. And one important point that you made here was equity and equality and their difference. And I think that was very important. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. And here today, as youth, I'm so glad we're gathered here today as the future of leaders and the future generation and the future of decisions that are going to be made by the government lies in our hands. And I think as we are going to make the future of whoever is passing bills and passing laws, we should be able to influence laws from focusing on equality to focusing on equity and giving provisions based on people's needs rather than giving everyone the same thing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. And LG, would you like to close us out for this particular panel?
I would really like to agree with John on the Palestine issue. I feel like the world in general and like most of our governments are ignorant and arrogant against the issues that are happening. In my opinion, the Middle East problem is the biggest conflict in modern history, in my opinion, because overall most of the governments in the Middle East are ignoring like the civilians, the people who are being harmed by the conflict, by the power they're using. They're ignoring the harm that's happening. Most of the governments, I feel like all the governments in the Middle East were involved in the war, and I feel like if we overall put into perspective and talked about it and had more people in Congress or overall other governments thinking about the peace and the people, we will have a more prosperous overall world and peaceful progress.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you, Nelji, and thank you, panel members. You are incredible, as we all know. And participants, please put your reflections in the chat. We wish to hear from you. We hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. So our next presenter, again, three presenters with three different approaches to that are science-based, evidence-based, to advance solutions around the 2030 agenda and the SDGs. How are we doing? Put your thoughts in the chat. Our third presenter is Averin Collier. And Averin has this amazing work that he's doing. He'll tell you a little bit about that. It's called Heroic, HEROIC, and it stands for Humans Everywhere, Reconstruct Our Interconnected Community. So Averin's bio will come on into the chat. And Averin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It is very humbling to be a part of this panel and to stand on the shoulders of the presenters before me is definitely a big shoe to fill. I know I don't want to be redundant because a lot of what I have to say kind of echoes what they were expressing in this peace building process. Heroic, again, is an acronym, Humans Everywhere, Reconstruct Our Interconnected Community. And it's a call to action as well. And I think that's the biggest part of why I like to use acronyms and things that I do, because I want to create a call to action. And in creating this organization 10 years ago, within the second year of us operating, I had the opportunity to come to the UN and learn a lot. Have opportunities to meet gentlemen like George, to be a part of opportunities like this, to meet Emma a couple years back at the summit, the Youth Summit, Education Summit, at the UN headquarters. It really reminded me of my youth, and it helps me remember that we have to continuously pour in our youth, and the fact that this battle of peace is an ongoing battle that we've all mentioned before, to continue to look at each other as humans first and not as our isolated demographics and categorizations are. And so in the past 3 years, Heroic has taken a step back from some of the day-to-day work that we've done, and we wanted to again take a more scientific approach. And so we've been working with a lot of forensic and clinical psychologists to kind of get a deeper understanding of the current state of our environment. And one of the greatest things that we know about psychology is it delves deep into the brain and how we respond to things that happen. And one of the biggest proponents and users of psychology is marketing. And so when we look at the framework of marketing, we look at the framework of the number one position in government is psychologists. We see how it influences the day-to-day life. And so we wanted to take an approach of, let's see where the gaps are. Let's look at the psychology and let's look at the data. And so we kind of begin building a framework of how sometimes the data is not matching up with the psychology. And one way I like to bring that perspective, and it resonates perfectly right now, is how currently we're seeing how a lot of MAGA participants and MAGA voters are now saying this isn't what we voted for, but these are all the things that he said. And so how do we look and say, where do we bridge that gap? How do we get them to see the world for what it is and not from the tainted view that they were living in? And how do we create a space to invite them back into the fold of society without creating ostracizing them or continuously exaggerating the problem? We understand the problem, and if people want to be healed, how do we open up that door? And that's the conversation we have to have in the youth. And I'm being from Rochester, New York, somebody that I follow and I want to kind of exemplify is Frederick Douglass. And one of his quotes was, it's better to build strong children than to repair broken men. And so as a society, as a community, we have to have more conversations like John stated about accountability. How do we sit in a room and talk about these issues with a level of respect, but also hold each other accountable? And I think that is the scary aspect. And again, when you look at the highest levels of politics, we have a lot of our politicians that aren't holding town halls. They aren't engaging, and we've mentioned that before. And so how do we create and promote that culture within our community? We cannot depend on leadership. We have to take that approach as a community, and we have to go from the ground up, from the grassroots, and force that upon our elected officials. And so that kind of interaction, it needs to be more frequent. And so currently, we've took an approach of looking at how do we take issues and put them in the proper setting. So removing a lot of the flash, a lot of the gimmicks. We've began building workshops, and I would definitely want to invite some of the youth and create a workshop where we're having these conversations to show the broader community this is what peace engagement looks like. This is what peace cooperation and conversation and engagement should be, and build from that platform and creating a larger and broader audience through the concept of humans everywhere, reconstructing our interconnected community and going back to a lot of the concepts that were mentioned earlier in the conversation. And so we like to challenge not only, like I said, who we are, but we like to challenge perspectives. And so taking that approach, we want to be able to open it up to the broader audience, and being invited here, Tez and George. I'm very grateful for that opportunity to build on the conversation. And I think that is something that we all should take more time to reflect and take more time to engage, whether it be our local politicians or our federal or state politicians, to be more engaging from the grassroots up. And that's been our approach from the start. And we like to build upon that through dialogue. And currently looking at it from a forensic lens has begun giving me a better understanding that there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of trauma that needs to be healed to get to the solutions that we want for global peace and global cooperation. And I yield.
Thank you, Averin. Thank you for a fantastic presentation, and for you to actually engage us around our collective power to make a difference and through dialogue, which, as we know, is so important to resolving conflict. Thank you so much. And now, again, we bring up our youth response panel. Thank you, Averin. And participants, please put your reflections in the chat. Let's get everybody up here. You all are so brilliant. Thank you. And so Amanda or Amara has her hand up. And so I'll let her go while the rest of you think about if you have something you'd like to say. Amara.
Thank you, Averin. That was beautiful. I really liked what you said about like psychology and power. So I know that like people are malleable and we don't really have a built-in lie detector. And so it's not the best people that are in power, but I think rather people that know how to use psychology and know how to use marketing that end up in power. And so I think that we have to recognize in life is that these people in power are not like so much smarter than we are, and so much better than we are, and that we can't go and talk to them because we don't understand. I think what we need to understand is that these people are just really good at their jobs and really good at understanding how the brain works. And so that if we want to create real change, we need to get over this fear of talking to people and feeling like we might seem stupid in front of people of power because they might be smarter, even though they're not. So I think we need to get up there and start testifying for bills and, going to these town halls and recognizing that when we use our voice is when we finally get to break down this psychology that comes and provides this illusion that only people in power are really the people who are able to have an impact. And so I think that once we get involved and once we get people to realize that their intelligence is just as high as these people in power, then that's when we start really breaking down the illusion that we are so often under. So thank you. I really appreciate your speech and really resonated with it.
Thank you, Amara. And of course, whether you're youth or adults, those points are really important to pay attention to. Thank you. And Shivy.
Yes, thank you so much. I think I don't feel the reconstruction happening right now with our generation and the older generation. Like, for example, you take the government itself. It's just their mindset and how they are working, and they don't believe that each and every human has a perspective in whatever field it could be on. So, like you said, again, marketing, a great example. So we could start with, marketing on how we could be useful or something. So yeah, I get. So that was a really great opinion of yours, and I really value it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivy. And David.
Uh, Thank you for that speech. It's really I connected with like your point about how peace building isn't just about like talking, like it's about like listening and like understanding and like actually doing the hard work and like not just talking about it. So the quote you shared about like from about Frederick Douglass, it is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. That really stuck with me because it reminded me why like investing while we're all doing this, why investing in youth is so important for like long-term peace for our future. So I also appreciated how like you connected everything with psychology because that's like a really big major. I actually plan on taking that and like with community action. So it's true that we can't just rely on like our leaders to fix everything. We also have to take accountability. We also have to like take actions. So we need to be part of the solution from the ground up. So you're a reminder that healing begins with like a conversation, and accountability felt really powerful, especially in like the time when most people are so divided. Like look at our world, like there's a lot of war going on, so we're all divided. So thank you for showing us that peace is not just a goal, it's a practice and one we all plan on carrying forward from today. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Such good points. And Nelji.
Mr. Averin Collier, I really liked how you explained that we are like politicians, overall people who are masters in psychology are divided between like the points that they present to people. And since they are masters at, connecting, communicating, they ignore what they preached for before they got into the place I wanted to be at. And I really think that connects to the fact that in today's date, our education is being diminished for the youth because the people elected into the government are being ignorant in some way or another against the youth, which got them elected into office. And I feel like if we talked about it and overall advocated for more people to think about the future, what comes next, and what will benefit us for human survival, human innovation, that would benefit overall the accommodation of humanity as a whole in the universe. So I really like that you pointed that out. As in our current time, we are divided between different opinions and point of views, which makes life even harder. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nelji. Okay. Joanna, you didn't raise your hand, but I want to give you a chance in case you have something to add.
Yes, sure, I will. Thank you, Evelyn, for talking about how psychology can be used by people in power and to help get them into power. I'd also like to add on about how not only can psychology be used to you know, as for like charismatic purposes, it can also be used to bridge people together, and we can utilize psychology's power to build healthier connections and relationships amongst people, and fuel the unitarian narrative as well. I wasn't sure how to articulate this, so I just didn't raise my hand. But
That's It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, all of you. Such wise and brilliant people that we get to hear from today. And so it's time to kind of turn to you, our audience. I'm going to ask that Emma and Becky kind of pay attention to the chat. So, what we'd love to hear from you is, what did you learn? What stands out, or what were the highlights or the takeaways from this event for you? And we'd like you to put those in the chat, if you would, please. We can take down or we can leave up our youth response panel. So what do you think? What do you feel you got out of this particular presentation? And we'll wait for you. It can be very short.
do we just type them in the chat, or is there a link?
You can if you'd like, yes.
Okay.
Gail raised her hand, so we can take Gail's response. So could we ask Gail to unmute, please?
Hello, thank you all. I just wanted to let you know, first of all, the chat is disabled. We can't type into it. And,
Oh, how did that
then
happen?
I
Thank you
just
for
wanted
letting
to
us
also,
know.
and I just wanted to also say thank you. It has been a delight to be here and hear about all the different viewpoints. I totally agree with everyone who has spoken. And the youth panel, thank you so much for your leadership and your wisdom. Wise words to all of us. And I totally agree that with the last speakers talking about the people in power are just people. We can approach them as much as we can approach our neighbor and our teachers and the people we work with, and that all of us have wisdom to share about the unity of the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gail. We can
Thank you.
take,
You're welcome.
oh, go ahead. Averin, did you want to respond? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate you enjoying my work.
Yes, perfect. We can take another hand or two. And can we open up? Have we opened up the chat?
The chat is open, and it may be because Zoom has changed how the chat works. It is a little confusing. If you want to post a message in the main chat, if you are on a PC or your computer, on the side where the names are listed of the people who are here in the chat, there's a little box that says main chat. And so it may be that that's not open for some reason, but it is open. It has been open. We haven't closed the chat. And then if you private message somebody, then you wouldn't see that. You have to navigate back to the main chat. So I see I've received a couple of messages that
It's
I think
happened
were
now.
intended, for everybody. So.
Good. And Emma raised her hand.
Yeah, going off of what Becky said as well, there was a setting in place that said only host and co-host that the participants could chat to. So we changed that setting to be so that everybody can chat to everybody. But I just wanted to say I am blown away by all of our speakers, all of our youth, and knowing I was in your shoes a couple years ago. I'm still in your shoes now. I still do these things. Thanks to Mr. George Anthony, who was my former teacher and mentor. It's really good to see everyone again. Averin, it's very good to see you. I was trying to remember, like, I've seen you somewhere, and as soon as you mentioned the summit, I was like, that's it. That was where I knew you from.
Perfect.
And knowing Shivy, Amara, David, John, Nelji, Joanna, knowing all of you has given me inspiration as well to continue to what I am doing, continue my journey in everything, and know that you are not alone in everything you do. You have a whole community standing behind you in all of your work, in all of your speeches, in mostly in everything you do. You will always have this community to come back to. You will have this community to support you. And that is the beauty about doing presentations like this, is the community aspect that it brings.
Thank you.
And it's amazing to see the work that you have all do, and I cannot wait to see more of the work.
Beautiful. Thank you, Emma.
Yeah,
So I think we can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just, I'd
Someone
like to,
say, George?
yes, it's me. I just like to echo what Emma was saying. Yeah, it was a powerful platform today. And, I look at all the people here attending this conference, extraordinary peace builders, all of you. You're here because of that. And it is a platform. Pathways to Peace does serve as a platform to sort of echo that message of peace and hope. And we heard that in Dr. Jude Kirby, and we heard it in John William, as well as Adrian Kalia. It is a platform. There is work. Peace is a work in progress. It's not all flowers and stars and kumbaya. It's work, and it's necessary work. And this is a world that's broken, and it's broken pieces, and we need to sort of find ways to put those pieces together by joining our collective voices, sharing our work together, and understanding that we are all part of the solution, and we have a continued role to play. Peace is a work in progress, always is, and will continue to be. And it's our role to continue to support those, especially the young voices that are present today. You will be basically picking up the baton and carrying it forward, that flame of peace. And there is always more work to do. And
Yes.
Pathways to Peace, I know Tez will continue this towards the end. The Pathways to Peace will continue to support you with our programs, with our presence. The many representatives here today and future representatives. So I look forward to being a part of that journey forward. Thank you.
Beautiful. So we can take down everyone other than I would like. I think, George, if those were your closing remarks, those were beautiful. I'd like to give Tweed an opportunity for any closing remarks.
I think this is a beautiful format of having our youth panel respond to all the speakers. I think they all did a fantastic job, and I definitely gained a lot of insight in it was twofold, learning a lot from the speakers, but also listening to how our youth panel representatives responded to the speakers at the same time. So it kind of reinforced my understanding, but also enhanced it at the same time. It was interesting to kind of see um the enrichment of the speeches that was given. So I think this is a great format, and hopefully I I've only been pathway. I don't know if we've been doing this for, I mean, this type of format. I assume this has been the consistency, but I think it's great. And also it's awesome that Pathways to Peace is giving our youth a lot of opportunities to showcase themselves, giving them a voice. Honestly, that's the best thing we can do to support them. So yeah, that was great.
Great. And now, after I asked our Emma and Becky to take them down, I'm going to ask to put back the speakers. And as I said, Dr. Jude needed to go to another presentation, but bring up our speakers and then bring up our youth panelists. We'll get them all up there because this is where we collectively give you our deepest thanks for your wisdom, for being here, for your willingness to tell your own truth, and because we love you and look forward to our continued work with you. It includes Emma, it includes Becky, all of you. If you can imagine us all standing, and we will clap. You can't necessarily hear us, but you can see that we're giving you a standing ovation. Thank you. And you can stay on the screen. Gandhi said that unity, to be real, must stand the severest strain without breaking. And I think we know that there are a lot of problems in the world, and there's a hunger for peace. We know also that our unity and expanding our consciousness of our inherent unity is one of the most important solutions to what's currently occurring. And we know that when we rise together, we rise. So our power is in our unity through diversity. And remember, as everyone on the screen knows, that each of us is a pathway to peace. It doesn't matter if you're in the peace building field, doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter where you've come from, you are a pathway to peace. And again, we're going to close with a reminder that we do rise together. We're going to close with this really important song. It's called We Rise. It is from Gemma Boulos, who is a friend and who traveled around the world creating a million voice choir. This song became the anthem of the UN in that year. And it is a powerful song of how we rise together. So I hope you'll be inspired to move with it, to dance with us as we recognize the power of our unity. Thank you. And thank you participants for being here with us. We couldn't do it without you. So we'll open up the gallery as we play the music. You can dance with us.
And you can turn on your videos too, everybody. You're invited to.
Please turn on your videos if you can so we can see you. We'll, of course, be taking a photo.
Take my hand and we'll stay
Turn up the
in reverie. Lift your heart.
Joy is so important. So feel that joy.
Oh, yes, we'll bathe in tears of prayer and joy to bring our souls to waken. Oh, yes, we'll shower the fields of every girl and boy to free their hearts of aching. Oh, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise. Still your mind, and you'll find your liberty. It's when we give, we live our legacy. We'll learn to navigate through restless storms. Our bravery will measure. Oh, yeah. Together find the strength to transform a heartache into treasure. Oh, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise. I'm just a little drop of water in a sea of wondrous souls. Yeah, we're here to celebrate the beauty of a simple, peaceful goal. We are all pilgrims, and with love we'll never go asunder. Oh no, in unity, with gratitude our voices thunder. We rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise, we rise. I'm just a little drop of water in a sea of wondrous souls. We're here to celebrate the beauty of a simple, peaceful goal. When mothers, brothers, sisters rise, and fathers, daughters, sons arise, then children of the world will rise. Oh, yeah. When mothers, brothers, sisters rise, and fathers, daughters, sons arise, then children of the world will rise. brothers, sisters rise, and fathers, daughters, sons arise, the children of the world will rise. Mothers, brothers, sisters rise, fathers, daughters, sons arise, children of the world will rise. I'm just a little dry. Let's take it to the skies. We rise, oh, we rise, yeah. Mothers, brothers, sisters rise, fathers, daughters, sons arise, children of the world will rise. You got to rise. Mothers, brothers, sisters rise, fathers, daughters, sons arise, children of the world will rise. Come on! When mothers, brothers, sisters rise, and fathers, daughters, sons arise, the children of the world will rise. When mothers, brothers, sisters rise, fathers, daughters, sons arise, children of the world will rise. We rise.
And that's what we leave you with. We rise together in unity, and we send you off with love, with peace. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.